Hello, hello. Welcome, Jana. I'm so excited for you to be here. Let me just introduce her real quick. Jana is a wife and mom of 3 teenage sons. God bless you, and a self-proclaimed champion for health and wellness. Jana's own health issues were the catalyst for a career shift over 12 years ago from the world of corporate consulting to that of wellness entrepreneur. Jana will be the first to say that Pilates changed her life. She stepped into her first Pilates mat class in 1999 because she wanted to find a different approach to dealing with her undiagnosed pain. 4 months later, that is exactly what happened. Her pain was gone and she found her true calling. In 2008, Jana became a certified Pilates instructor and started teaching out of her home to her friends and family. In 2010, she opened her first Pilates studio, and in 2015, she expanded her business to a 9,000 square foot state-of-the-art Pilates studio and integrated health therapies clinic in her hometown of Saskatoon, Canada. Hello, Canadians in the house. Her team of instructors, administrators, and clinicians will top 60 by the end of the year. And Jana launched her online Pilates studio called the Meta District in September of 2019. And just this past April, she launched her first pelvic floor fitness tools, the Cooch Ball and the Gooch Ball. In 2021, she's taking her goal to impact 100,000 people this year and putting it into action with her series of 3 days event called the Meta Impact Experience. And she is a believer in wellness from the inside out and cannot wait to share her philosophy, hints, and tips with you. And I just had to say, if you didn't notice, the title of her talk is Rediscovering Your Sparkle, the Building Blocks of Impact. So I absolutely love that. Thank you for being here, Jana. So excited. Okay, so I mean, just incredible. And there's so much goodness and so much, just your story alone. There's so much inspiration that comes from that. And we talked a little bit about pain, your story of pain. And based on your work and your experience, how do you recommend we transcend the pain so it's no longer holding us back? Because I know a lot of people are in pain right now.
Alexandra, yeah, thanks for having me here. And, gang, as you're watching this, pain we all experience pain. Pain comes in different forms: physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, right? But for me, my pain started as physical. And one of the things because I was in my late teens when I started experiencing my pain, and I didn't know what to do about it. And so I actually gave my pain a name. I actually named it. I called it my edge. And it's, as you were playing the Lady Gaga song, Alexander on the Edge of Glory, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many like underlying meanings here, because that was the only way as a teenager and a young adult that I could actually feel like I was in control of my pain versus it controlling me. And so I had to play a trick on it. I had to like acknowledge it like a friend almost, like, oh, there's my edge. I'm going to write a big exam. I am waiting for a boy to call me for a date, right? And my edge would show up in those moments. And for me, that was really important because maybe in your own body or in people who are around you, it's really challenging to assist and help and nurture people that are in pain, because the first thing that they do is they separate themselves from you. If you are not in pain, how can you possibly know what I'm going through, right? Mm-hmm. So that was one of the really important things I just did kind of organically, was gave it a name, made it feel like somebody, and then I could have the conversation like, I don't need you here today. Why, and then when I started my Pilates journey, that really was what started to, heal my body from the inside out.
Beautiful. And I just wanted to know, so of course there's no coincidences. I've been telling people, by the way, as I've been mentioning the song that I chose to the speakers, a lot of people have a connection to that song. There's no coincidences, absolutely not. So that's incredible. And so, we are leaders, as women leaders, it's difficult sometimes for us to share our voice. I even mentioned before I had that debilitating. I know you've had issues as well. How can you use the breath to find your voice?
All right. So I love this question. We're going to come at this from two different ways. Because I'm a Pilates instructor, a movement instructor, I can't get a stage and not talk about the critical impact that breath has on so many aspects of our life. So, gang, what we need to understand is that Joseph Pilates said one of my most favorite quotes: breath is our first and our last act of life. And somewhere in between, we forget how to do that. And I truly believe that. For me, it was because of my pain that I actually lost my breath. And what do you need? What do you need to have a voice? You need breath. You need that vibration on your vocal cords to stand up into your truth, have courage, and be like, this is who I am. This is how I'm showing up today. And so, physiologically, when we do not take in air through our nose and out of our mouth, our diaphragm, which is our main muscle of respiration, it lives under the crest of our rib cage like an open umbrella or like a mushroom cap. That muscle actually starts to just go to sleep. It
Mm,
starts to become dysfunctional. Our posture changes. We become very protected. And how can we stand in our power and impact and sparkle if physically, literally, figuratively, we're here? And so, breath has an absolute critical component to us being able to step into our power. And, for me, and maybe for many of you, if you've experienced that where you feel like you're muted, or you don't have that courage to step in, um, it doesn't mean it's a forever thing. It just means for now. And what are you supposed to learn from that? That was the biggest thing I took away from that phase of my life was, what message is the universe, God, sending to me that I need to understand before I can share? And that's exactly what happened.
mm. I'd love to hear if anyone who's here has also if you type in the chat if you either experienced the pain that Janice talked about, or the issues with voice. I'd love to hear if anybody else has experienced that. That's so so powerful. And you reminded me of something. As a singer, we had to sing with our diaphragm always, right? And I learned about breathing and how I was breathing so I don't want to say badly because it sounds a little judgy, but I wasn't singing. I wasn't breathing properly. There we go. That's a better. And so that's so important. I stand when I do talks now, and because I feel like sometimes me in particular, I have to do over and above because I had to overcome so much. So making sure I use my breath is so so important to speak powerfully. So I love that, and thank you for sharing that.
Welcome.
Such a great tip there. And so we all have a story, and I know I mentioned mine and you mentioned yours. So we all have a story that's brought us to where we are today. What advice do you give for identifying the beauty in the chaos so that the lessons are learned and we can make and may have it become a peaceful path into our future?
So, do any of you know the concept of the butterfly effect? Has anyone ever heard of the butterfly effect, right? Like a moth can flap its wings in Thailand and create a hurricane in the Pacific Ocean, right? Like two very unrelated things. I love that concept, and I use that concept a lot in my life and when I'm coaching others. And so the butterfly effect, when they looked at the impact these seemingly unrelated things had, um, that little machine where if there's um, an earthquake, like the Richter scale, it shows like how big of an earthquake it was. So they were using a machine like that, and when they were tracing the waves of this butterfly effect, it actually looked like two butterfly wings. And what the scientists realized was, out of the chaos was beauty, something that
Mm,
looked like nature. And I actually use that as one of the tools in my toolbox. Is that not every day. I don't know if you guys remember that movie that it was called The Truman Show. Um,
I love that movie.
Jim Carrey was not right, and every day was the same, like the same. And life is not like that, right? It is like maybe a baseball game where sometimes you hit a grand slam home run and sometimes you strike out. And so in those moments where you do strike out, or you slide into home plate and you're called out, what is the what's the message, what is the lesson learned out of there? And for me, mindset is huge. It is one of the biggest tools that we have at our disposal that can change the set of lenses we have. And we can look at a situation one way or another based on our mindset. And I use this concept a lot, that every situation can be looked at as if you were a character from Winnie the Pooh. Okay, if you guys know the story Winnie the Pooh, there's Eeyore. Eeyore is the donkey, and he's kind of like, everything is like, woe is me, and Piglet's like the cheerleader, and Kanga is like the nurturer. And we can be an Eeyore, right? We can see a situation and see the, the yuckiness, the messiness of it. But in that messiness, we can become a Piglet and be a cheerleader and pull out, okay, what am I supposed to learn from this? And, how can I become different, more impactful because I've been through this? Because, like you said earlier, Alexandra, nothing is a coincidence in this life. And if you take those lessons and turn them into your message or your mission, it can be extremely powerful.
Mm, that's beautiful. So if I know you've talked a bit about different challenges that you have, but if you had to say, is there one that you've overcome that really got you to step out and share your message with the world in a bigger way? And like, how did you solve it? I would love to hear that because I know a lot of us are in that same space. So I'd love to hear that.
We hear a lot about like imposter syndrome and, playing a bigger game, like all of these kind of buzzwords now. And I caught myself about a year ago saying those words, like, it's time for me to step up. It's time to play a bigger game. I was meeting some amazing people. One of the blessings of COVID are events like this where, you can meet people from across the world, multiple times a day and form those connections. And that's what I was doing. I had decided when I could no longer do my week-long Pilates transformation retreats in Mexico that I wanted to do 3-day events. And I kept worrying about the outcome. What if I put all this time and energy and money and put myself out there in a Zoom room? And what if it's just my mom? Or what if it's my mom and my best friend and my sister? And so I think great business people always have a great business coach. No one ever gets to where they are on their own. They always have these little angels around them that are, helping them or being sounding boards. And that's definitely one thing that, I would recommend is, find that person. And it doesn't have to be like, thousands and thousands of dollars. There are some people that have amazing, they show up online free, every week or every second week where you just can become part of a community. And so for me, last fall, I signed up to do these 3-day events. I found an amazing coach who, led successful 6-figure events. And I applied for the program. Originally, he said no to me. But once I reframed how I was going to show up online, he was like, yep, I think you'd be a great fit for this program. And my first event was in January. I started getting my affiliate marketing partners, in November. The holidays came. I was setting up. And if you guys ever had one of those moments where the momentum is going forward and you all of a sudden try and dig your heels into the ground to stop it, and it's the force is already too large. And I was thinking to myself, okay, maybe I can just tell everybody I'm sick, or maybe, like just cancel the whole thing. And I was actually having those thoughts. And so it wasn't until I showed my vulnerability to my coach that he said to me, listen, like, you need to understand that you are worth every penny of the invitation you are making into your mastermind. You have 2 decades worth of, messages that you've turned into your messages, and all of these experiences along the way that you just think have been, it's just part of life, are extremely, like, they're like gold nuggets that people are just craving to be a part of a community. And if you don't show up, you will never know the impact that you may have had on someone's life. And you know what, everyone, on the first day of the event, I had a woman message me at the end of the first day, and she said these words to me. She said, Jana, you have no idea how much I needed this weekend. You have saved my life. And I broke down that night because I almost let my fear of not playing big or not having it in me to play big not show up on that weekend. And so for me, that was extremely empowering. And you never know the interaction you're going to have with someone as a business owner, as things we take for granted. Other people, Yang, don't. And the words that come out of your mouth and how you connect with them can literally change or save their life.
Wow. So, I'm not going to stand here and say that those thoughts haven't crossed my mind at least once. So I'd love to just challenge whoever is here to write in the chat, what have you been scared of, but will serve your audience, your ideal clients? And, put it out there. And I know, as I'm a coach, Jana's a coach, we know you can do it. But yeah, I would love to hear what that is. And at the beginning, Jana, we asked everyone to set or to write what their intentions were for their life, like 3 of their biggest intentions. And so maybe one of those is something you've been stopping yourself. So I encourage you to type in the chat, and let's see what happens. I know for me, one of the biggest things I had was the full commitment. I would stop myself. And it was just similar to what you were saying. So if I don't, even if it's serving one person, even if it's just serving one person, I'm, we're getting out there, we're doing what we need to do, and we're serving people. So thank you for reinforcing that.
Alexandra, one important thing you said there is the word commitment. And lately, I have been like a word junkie. I love looking at the language that we use. Why do we choose certain words over others? And commitment for me, I mean, not in my commitment to my husband or my family, not that, but in being committed to a cause or a force. And I actually just reframed it a little bit for me. And I took the word commitment because it had kind of jagged edges. And I use the word consistency. So if I consistently show up and have consistency for, my audience, even if I get onto a Facebook Live and literally it's my mom, I am like I'm showing up as my very best self because I don't know who else is going to be watching it at some point. And you know what? One day I know there are going to be thousands and thousands of people getting on my Facebook Lives or my IGTV with me. And so this is my dress rehearsal. And the people, I always think about those early adopters of, like the iPhone, people that lined up for weeks and weeks before the first iPhone was released. I feel like the people that show up for me, it doesn't matter the number. They are the people that heard my message connected in some way with them. And I have to be consistent because that's what they deserve for making the choice to show up that day.
You just reminded me of Clubhouse. The first people, the earliest adopters of Clubhouse all have millions of followers now. That was done by design. So crazy, huh? But it's just getting out there and putting yourself out there. It's incredible. Okay, so this is about a two-part question.
Okay.
What advice do you offer other women who want to really step out and make an impact? And what advice would you give your younger self?
Okay. Yeah. So advice for other women. I find that when we give ourselves a roadmap or a framework, all of a sudden things can become clearer. And one of my favorite mantras is that clarity creates confidence,
Mm-hmm.
and the reverse of that is that confidence creates clarity. So, when I talk to other women or when I'm working with other women, we always start here, right? Because if we start looking outward before we turn the mirror on ourselves, we might be missing a substantial amount of, passion, understanding, because I think as women, we still are very good at filling in the blanks for what other people think we should be doing, right? Have you guys ever heard of the right hand and left hand philosophy?
I don't think so.
I'm going to share it with you. So, for a lot of women that come and work with me, they might have, relationship challenges with their families or with their spouse or a best friend. Like it drags them down. They're trying to do something new. They're trying to start a business, and all of these voices are like, "Are you sure you want to leave your full time job? Are you sure you want to do that?" Right? You hear people that should be your biggest cheerleaders, and they're not doing it to bury you. They're doing it because they love you, and maybe they don't share that same entrepreneurial DNA as you do, where you're a bit of a risk taker and you can see you're a visionary. You can see what your future is. Um, when you know that the people in your left hand are the people that have known you for your whole life, your friends and family, your teachers, the people that remember you when you were this big, right? Those are your left hand people. Your right hand people are the people like us. They're the people we've met as we become who we are professionally, right? And so if you're talking about your professional life and sharing a vision with people in your left hand that haven't had that experience, they're not going to it's not going to land for them the same way. And when I help women understand that, is understanding who's in your left hand, who's in your right hand, it can take a lot of that heavy backpack full of bricks. We can start taking some of those bricks out, because we carry what our mom told us, or what our mother-in-law said to us 10
Mm-hmm.
years ago. We carry that with us. And the only way we can start letting go is to really get comfortable with our stand, who we are. And if we don't turn that mirror on ourselves, that becomes a missing piece. And it can kind of be like a slippery slope. You can always be like, I'm almost there, 3 steps forward, 7 steps back. And so we want to really understand that, first of all. And then the other piece for women, when I work with them, we help them understand the 3 pillars that I live by are mindset, movement, and motivation, because our mind and our body and our spirit create the the melting pot, basically, for who we're meant to be. And when we're missing one of those pillars, it's a fundamental piece of the puzzle that's no longer there, and can create a lot of that frustration, or why are these good things happening for everybody else, but I just keep getting stuck like that hamster on the wheel. So that's where I start. That's my starting point with all of my women, and it's magic what starts to happen when we look at those 3 pillars.
So it's mindset, movement, and meditation.
Motivation.
Oh,
Yeah.
motivation. Sorry.
Yeah. Meditation.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And did you answer your younger self?
Oh, my younger self. So I was thinking about this. I just read an amazing book by Jamie Kern Lima. She's the creator of It Cosmetics, right? She sold her business for like 1.2 billion to L'Oreal. So she's got a new book out called Believe It. And I could not put it down. And there was one quote in there that I want to share to answer this question. And if my younger self knew this, I think a lot of the frustrations of not getting to where she was fast enough would have been addressed. So I wrote it down to make sure that I said it properly. So her quote in her book was, "God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the called." And
Mm.
I love that. So God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the call. And what does that mean? We have those little taps, those little whispers throughout our life that, write that book, create that course, do that mastermind, right? And we might, how many reasons do we have? I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I'm not motivated to do it. And sometimes those taps or those whispers get loud to the point where we can't deny them. Or have you heard before where someone's launched a product and you're like, I had that idea 10 years ago. Why didn't I do something with that idea? So that's what I would tell my younger self is listen to those whispers, the people that you bring around you who are building you up and helping you rise. They are critical pieces to your journey and just receive that.
Mm. So I just wanted to ask, and I know we're wrapping up here, but is can you quickly say what's one way to make sure you're listening to those whispers?
It's the calm. I believe it's the calm. It's finding those moments, whether you carve out, 2 or 3 minutes in the morning, in the evening, just to be by yourself. Amazing things happen in nature in when you're quiet. You can actually hear versus just listen, which I think is really important.
Hmm. Well, thank you so much, Jana, for this amazing talk. You've given us incredible content. Before we get into your gift, I want to, anybody, let's just pour in a lot of love and gratitude for Jana. Share with us what was your top takeaway, your top tip, or something that you're gonna be able to use going forward from this discussion with Jana today. And we'll read. Oh, Ilya said, "God doesn't call a caller; she qualifies the called." I love it. Yes, thank you for that. So let's go into your offer. You're going to be offering do you know it or do you want me to read it?
No, go ahead. I have it, but
Okay,
go ahead.
because it's a little long. It's a 4-part mini masterclass series called "Turning Your Pain from Limitation to Inspiration." And that's incredible. Do you want to share briefly about that masterclass?
For sure. So, gang, just so you understand, it gets dripped to you. So you're gonna get the first one, and we're gonna, have a little bit of a discussion. I'm gonna educate a little bit, and then you have a couple of days to start to embody what we've talked about in the first class, and then 2 or 3 days later you'll get the next one. So just understand that it's about an 11-day experience to get those 4 master classes dripped, and I just take you along on my journey. I take you through my pain, all the way to my inspiration. And I encourage you to connect with the very simple things that don't cost you anything but a few minutes a day to put yourself on that track and see what happens when you get to the end.
Hmm, beautiful. So I would say my biggest takeaway was the breath piece.
Mhm.
It's such a reminder. My sister is she does Ayurvedic and other forms of Eastern medicine, and she's always telling me to connect with the breath. And sometimes I don't listen, and it's probably because she's my sister. But when I hear it from somebody else, when I heard it from you, I was like, yes, yes, using the breath as part of your voice. So thank you. That was a big takeaway for me. All right. Well, thank you. For more help growing your visibility and monetizing your brand, go to alexanderfigueredo.com. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Thank you.